All right, a quick update here on Friday afternoon. New data coming in from the Storm Prediction Center. This is the risk for Friday, but what's new is now a high risk now for Mississippi into Alabama. This is different. Storm Prediction Center feeling so confident that we're going to see severe weather here that they've issued this. This would be for Saturday's thunderstorm risk. Another issue in this region, and the main threat would be the tornado risk, an extreme situation here. I mean, this is pretty high, the strongest I've seen in quite some time. The Storm Prediction Center also talking about the idea that with this low-level shear that we're going to be seeing, that we could see the potential for long-track EF3 tornadoes. So definitely a situation that's not looking good across the South. If you widen this out, that tornado risk does extend all the way up into Michigan, but clearly the significant risk pushed pretty far to the north into Kentucky, east into Georgia, and then across a lot of the South. Two areas to watch. The first will be tonight. As we see these storms start to initiate into this region, they'll start to lift north and east into a very favorable environment for tornadoes. If you look at the potential for today, the day one tornado outlook, certainly high here all the way into the south. This is really round one, and then round two pushing to the east as we head into tomorrow. So this is, again, just a super quick update from some of the new data that's coming in. I do want to show you this. I'll have a full update later this evening, so if you're brand new, if you're just coming by, you don't need to see my ugly mug anyway. We're just looking at some of the storms here. You get the idea of when they're going to be rolling through. Here's your timestamp at the top left of the screen. Once we move into the overnight hours, these continue to push off to the east. So they start to form across Missouri, lifting north into Illinois, up toward the Great Lakes. We'll focus in up here now as these storms move toward Iowa, into Wisconsin, into Illinois tonight. So this is not a good night here in Missouri, pushing east into Illinois with tornadoes looking more and more likely across this region, especially here as we get a really unfavorable conditions here for those tornadoes to form with a lot of wind shear. And you can time these out as we move through the nighttime hours, lifting toward Chicago. Now we're moving through Springfield, and then further to the south from St. Louis. It looks like they're going to be moving through your region tonight after dark, around 10 o'clock Central. That's what time it is here on the screen. That would be Eastern time. And then everything continues to push off to the east. So now we're looking at an overnight threat here into eastern Arkansas, West Kentucky, West Tennessee. These continue to push off to the east as we move through the overnight hours through Kentucky. They will weaken, though, as they approach parts of eastern Kentucky into West Virginia. But this line, I think you've got to watch through the early morning hours of Saturday. Then things get reorganized across the south. Just a little bit further to the north here, you get the idea, too, that these storms will be moving also into parts of Ohio as we get into early Saturday morning. And then these kind of fall apart as they move into Pennsylvania, and now round two here across the south, again, I think watch out into Tennessee again. There's going to be 2 rounds of thunderstorms. These could move pretty far to the north. Again, that tornado risk extending, you saw it on the Storm Prediction Center, all the way up into parts of southern Michigan, and then this continues to push off to the east as we head through now the day Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Pushing this out even further, these storms continue to march off to the east. Now we're looking into Virginia, Maryland, into parts of Pennsylvania, but the big risk is certainly going to be across the south as we head into Saturday. Let's push this out in time. We'll look at the future radar here. Big storms through Tennessee and Kentucky tonight. We've talked about that, but now we're looking into the south where we've got that really strong tornado risk here heading into the day Saturday as these storms continue to push off to the north and east. You're going to get these supercells too that form out ahead of your storms. Your main line back here, and there's also going to be just a tremendous amount of wind shear, low-level moisture increasing across this region as we start to see those dew points go up. I wanted to show you the winds too. Certainly breezy, even outside of thunderstorms, not just across the Central Plains, but also across the southeast. Ahead of our front, a lot of moisture flowing north, plenty of fuel for these storms. There's your dew points, climbing well into the 60s, so prime for severe weather across the south. And then this continues to push to the east as your drier air pushes in. That's your front. And now you're looking at the severe weather. Let's go back to the south because I do want to time some of this out a little bit better for you here. There goes the first round, again, moving through Illinois, West Kentucky, and Tennessee through early Saturday morning. And then there comes that flow moving in at the surface, bringing that low-level jet. In the upper levels, your flow's like this. So a lot of shear and twist in the atmosphere. So it's easy to see how these storms could be quite violent here across Louisiana into Mississippi, especially into Alabama, where there is now a high risk of severe weather. We're talking a 5 out of 5. Let that sink in. It's been a long time since we've seen this come out from the Storm Prediction Center here, looking into the next day. So there you go. This is what we're looking at on Saturday, and I don't think you can't turn your back on the severe weather into Georgia either. Also, further north into Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina as this moves east, and then on Sunday, much weaker as it pushes into the Mid-Atlantic, into the southeast coast, but definitely we'll be dealing with these storms. The real problem, and if there is a glimmer of hope, I don't want to say this is hopeful, but unfortunately it is going to be the middle of the afternoon across Mississippi when these strong supercells are moving through. And again, some of these could create some violent EF3 plus tornadoes. Those move to the east. Tornado risk all the way up into Tennessee. Some of those could be embedded in your line of thunderstorms. And now you're getting into, it's dark by this point. This would be 9 p.m. Central with tornadic supercells moving into Alabama, now into Georgia overnight. A very active night across Georgia from the Panhandle. Further to the north, too, these storms will be moving through North Georgia, East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia. More of a squall lineup here, but that tornado risk, definitely not zero. May not be off the charts. Probably more of a damaging wind threat here, but tornadoes definitely on the table. And then we head into Sunday. Our risk starts to shift off toward the coast just a little bit more. So this is just a super quick update. Again, the main change and the reason I wanted to give you a quick live update would be what we're seeing across the south with a high risk being hashed out here by the Storm Prediction Center. Again, categorically, this right here, guys, is a 5 out of 5. That's as high as it gets across central Alabama. It does include Birmingham, back into central South Mississippi, and this moderate risk, which is nothing to sneeze at, pretty much covering all these states. So I'll be back with a full update later. I hope this helps. Please keep safe, prepare now, and I'll see you next time.